But it's funny because you'll see it'll start to, do you see it starting to come to life now?
Oh, yeah.
So anything that was black is going to start to get exposed. Or I guess dissolve. I think it's pretty good. You know, we don't do like factory scale production. Like we're not, you know, doing 2,000 t-shirts for, you know, crazy, you know, corporations or anything it's like that.
Not a Warholian operation.
No. Well, we wish, but no. But yeah, I think it's a good scale. It works for what we're working on now. So
I think we get to like actually meet and like deal with the people that we work with.
Yeah.
So it's not like just this. We have some email, can you print this file? We never see the people. I mean, I know a lot of times when we work with clients, like we'll have meetings with them in person. We'll go to scouts and like, you know, talk about it.
But like we get to follow these people through like doing these projects for them in different stages of their lives. They're like friends who we've done their wedding invitations, then we do their baby shower invites. Like that is a lot more meaningful to us than just churning out t-shirts. You know, like these are the projects that we just love, but you wouldn't get that. I don't think you would get that, or you would be able to focus or give enough passion to those projects if you were just constantly, you know, working at like factory scale, for instance. So I'm gonna mix up custom color, which is really exciting. But for this project, creating 4 custom colors. So I've already created 2, well, I already created 3, so this is the 4th one that I'm making. So we're gonna mix a little beautiful blushy pink today. If you have, like, let's say for instance something like this, right? This is 4 colors. So the way that this is designed on a computer is pretty easy, right? So you would essentially just, you know, use Illustrator or Photoshop or something, and you basically color in the lines if you want. That's a very simplistic way of describing it. But in order to create this as a silk screen, you actually have to break every single color down into its own individual screen or layer. For instance, we start with this like clear core, which basically just looks like milky, congealed hand lotion, I guess you could say. So you have to have a gram scale, preferably one that measures to the 100th because of the formula breakdowns. Sometimes even the slightest bit off in the formula will change the color. Okay, now's the fun part. We're gonna do the color, which is exciting. All right, we need gold. So this is always the moment of truth. This is where I'm like, okay, we're gonna mix and it's either gonna come out or it's gonna look not like we wanted it, and then we're gonna have to fix it, but either way. All right, it's starting to look pink, which is good, so we're close. I remember I was working on a project for like, I used to work in design, and like we were working on a project for a store, and I don't know what possessed me to be like, oh, I can do that, or like I could silk screen that, and my boss was like, great, do it. And then of course it was like that immediate like, and then I had to come home that day and be like, okay, so they asked me to do this, but it was a massive project with a huge screen with like a big design. It was like printing on textiles, like on fabric, and I'm like,
Making mannequins, right?
we have never done anything like that before, ever. And I was like, I think we can do it. So we just like worked our ass off, and a lot of failure and a lot of scary, I would say, like moments of like, are we actually going to be able to deliver this? But then ultimately in the end we did, and now that work is in like, I don't know, 50 Macy's stores. I don't know if it's still there today, but it was for a little while. So, you know, not to use like the old trope of Andy Warhol, but you know, you kind of do understand why he became so obsessed with the process of silk screening, because it is a process. There are so many variables that you have to control, and there's so much to be obsessed with in each step of the process.
Oh, so much can go wrong.
So much can go wrong. There's so much variability for error. So now we're gonna test it on a piece of paper and see how it comes out, see what the halftone looks like, and then we're gonna start. Gorgeous. There you go. Came out nice. I think we have clients that are on two of the extremes. We have clients who are artists who will come to us and know exactly what it is that they want, or very particular about their colors, or know exactly their point of view. We have clients who will come to us and say, we have absolutely no idea what we want, but we know we want X. Or like, we know we want a t-shirt that looks like this and says this. Which is, both of them are awesome, because on one hand, I would say there's a lot of positives to both of those, because on one hand, you have a client who's going to just give you all the information up front and there's no room for ambiguity, and you're just like, great, we can knock this out in a week because I don't have any questions. Like, it's just very clear, it's very direct, and it's very to the point. We've done that a lot of work for like clients who have their own businesses that need logos, for instance. That's a great example of like a client who will say, I don't have a logo, but I need some help designing one, and then I also want to get t-shirts and all of this stuff made. So, which is great for us because we like that kind of full service experience. We like taking a client from having literally no idea to then manifesting like an entire line of stuff for them, or like giving them an identity, which is really cool. I mean, another, I think, perk of being a small business in a small town, because any other big town or big city, a client that has a lot of money will just go to like a design firm to get that work done for them. But for us, we get to kind of do all of that work. I've kind of moved from a lot of different mediums, but I think ultimately as like an artist, I would say I'm probably primarily a drawer, and then have subsequently picked up other mediums like graphic design along the way. But when Alex and I first started dating, he was teaching me silkscreen. We totally forgot about that part of the story, which was like the whole reason why I think we started playing around with it, or why Alex had shown me it, is because as somebody who did who was a drawer, like I'm a drawer by what would I say, education, practice. He taught me silkscreen because he's like, I think your drawings would translate really well to a silkscreen, like the way that they're so graphic and so colorful, or like so simplistic, in their approach, would make an amazing silkscreen. And that was kind of how.
That's my lure. I mean,
You were always a silkscreener, though.
I wasn't. I mean, I started my junior year of college, just because my roommate at the time, she was silkscreening. I just like the idea of like taking an image or taking words and putting it on a shirt and walking around like town with it. I just thought it was a really cool way of just like having artwork on.
A bit of guerrilla art, if you will.
Yeah. So it was just kind of like, yeah, that's how I got into it. And then I just realized I really enjoyed the process. Like, I'd go there at 9 a.m. to the silkscreen studio, and I'd leave at like 7 o'clock. And in between there, I would get like maybe one piece done, but I would have had lunch there.
Yeah.
You're hanging out with people there because there's a lot of downtime. Like, the whole process is, you mold the screens on Tuesday, then on Wednesday you can like burn the screen.
Yeah.
But then you got to wash your screen out. And then there's 25 minutes. So you go downstairs and you smoke a cigarette. Not anymore. But back in the day, you go downstairs, smoke a cigarette, have lunch, come back up, your screen's dry, you do your first layer of prints, you have to let them dry.
Yeah.
So you go downstairs, smoke another cigarette, have, second lunch or something. I don't know. It's just like, it became like an event, and like everybody there hanging out and like doing it together was like really cool. And that's the other thing about silkscreen that's interesting, is like you kind of don't really see what the final product looks like until the end.
Yeah.
I mean, there's two ways to look at art too. I think with silkscreening too, like you could do art for other people, or you could do art for yourself. And like, I don't know. I think
we're both learning that in very different ways, I'd say. So I think we're kind of both coming around to this idea of like, okay, in our free time, with what we've learned and our experiences, like what are the kind of artists we want to be? And making art for art's sake, I think, is cultivating that for yourself, or that experience for yourself. Like what do you want to say?